Welcome to part 2 of the 6-part series documenting our 2020 fall trip to 12 of our national parks and some of our western states. This part covers a 170-mile, 3.5-hour drive from Moab to Loa, Utah, and our visit to the Capitol Reef and Zion National Parks and some other scenic stops along the way. Leaving Moab, we first top off the fuel again, and then enter the San Rafael Swell Wilderness area and stop at a San Rafael Reef viewing area. This area was formed about 60 million years ago and is approximately 40 miles wide by 75 miles long when the ground was pushed up at an angle forming a reef. Interstate I-70 cuts right through the reef. This area is also well known for a lot of uranium mining. Yeah, there's certainly a lot of wide open empty spaces out west, and some of the areas were known as the area that people didn't want. Further on down the road at the Ghost Rock viewing area are marker signs about this area known as Outlaw Country. And this is where the famous gang of Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid evaded the law. When you look at this terrain, it must have been a rough life back in the old cowboy days, living out in this area. Also said that there was a lot of Indian slave trade funneled up and down through these valleys. Yeah, we finally made it to Loa, Utah, and got into this campground, the Fremont River RV Park. And this is a new campground, so it's fairly open, but it was the only one that was available, as all the others get filled up a good 6 months a year in advance. They had this cute little double-decker bus as a restaurant within walking distance of the campground, so we went over there and got some sandwiches and that to eat. I don't think Capitol Reef is as well known as Zion or Bryce Canyons or Arches National Park. Therefore, it's a lot less crowded. But it's a beautiful place. We thoroughly enjoyed it. There's some lookouts and viewpoints that you can pull off, and we stopped at this one called Gooseneck's Point. And you can look at like a carved canyon down below. And while we were looking at it, we were hearing voices. So I got my telephoto lens out and looked down in there, and I found out there was people that were walking along the streams, a bunch of hikers. Yeah, as you can see, there's excellent roads all throughout the national parks out there, very well kept. And there's a couple side roads you can venture off on, and one of them was called the Grand Wash. And just as we started in, we saw these big signs about uranium being radioactive. And there was a couple of mines right there about maybe 300 or 400 feet away that they had signs up kind of warning you not to go near. In fact, one of them had bars and a sign across the front of it to keep you out of it. It was a dead-end canyon, and they warn you not to have anything over 27 feet long to drive in there. You won't be able to turn around and make it back out. But now we're on the dirt road going up to this canyon. After driving in on the 1.3 mile Grand Wash Road, we reached the 2.25 mile long Grand Wash hiking trail, where the Cassidy Arch is located. We wanted to go see the arch, but soon discovered we would have to take a side 1.5 mile hike, climbing up just under 1,000 feet in elevation. We passed on that, but continued on hiking in for about 2 miles. At the end of the paved scenic drive road to the park is the 2 mile long Capitol Gorge Dirt Road and the Capitol Gorge Trail. We only hiked in to see the petroglyphs and the pioneer registers. Early travelers passed through here and recorded the passage on the canyon walls at what is now called the Pioneer Register, kind of like 1800s graffiti. What puzzled me was how the 6 carefully etched names were inscribed on the wall so high up. You can see they're dated September 24th, 1911. They must have had some pretty tall ladders. We returned for a second day at the park, and not just because they were sold out of pies the previous day. However, that was a little bit of an incentive. We took a little break to have some sandwiches we brought along and watched a couple of deer nearby. A group of Mormons had settled here back in the 1800s and planted a lot of different fruit trees. And you're allowed to go pick some if they're ripe. So we did go out and get a handful of apples and fresh pears. After leaving the main park, we stopped at another viewing site on Highway 24 to see some more ancient petroglyphs. Well, traveling over to the Capitol Reef Park, we had passed this sign about the scenic Byway 12 and decided to check it out. It runs from the city of Panguitch, I think I said that right, 122 miles to Torrey, Utah. We didn't make the entire route, but we did drive the 36 miles from Torrey on to Boulder. This route takes us up over 9,600 feet, and as you'll see, free-range cattle roaming around. We spotted some unusual animal artwork near Boulder, but never could discover any information about it. We did see some buffalo along the way, but they were in a fenced-in pasture. There's I guess they were supposed to be deer. You didn't really think we left the Gibson house without any pies, did you? Next day, we head off again for our next destination. We went to the Whirlwind RV Park in Hurricane, Utah. And this is our staging point to get into Zion National Park. So we got there and got set up. And then the following day, day 14 and 15, we headed for Zion. And the city of Springdale is right on the right near the main entrance to the park. To get people back to work during the Depression era of the 30s, the government created a civilian conservation corps. Many of them came to work developing the roads and trails within the Zion National Park. The statue here honors those workers, and you can tell by the two polished areas on the statue that it has attracted many admirers over the years. We stayed in Hurricane, Utah, which is only about 23 miles from the park entrance. Zion is probably the most popular and most crowded of the national parks out there in Utah. We were in a hurricane about 23 miles away, so it wasn't a long drive to get there. But it's so crowded, it's a dead-end type canyon that they no longer allow private vehicles, and you have to ride a shuttle bus. And then you even have to make reservations on the shuttle bus at least a day in advance or more. And this red route is the route that the shuttle bus will take you up through there. They got massive traffic jams, and you just couldn't handle the personal traffic anymore. We didn't take the shuttle buses because we didn't have time to make reservations, but we followed this green route, Zion Mount Carmel Highway, all the way into Mount Carmel Junction. This is a very scenic area in itself. So we did get to see a lot of what the park looks like. Along this route is the Zion Mount Carmel Tunnel, which is over a mile long. And I saw these opening. I thought that was the tunnel first, but those are actually just windows that allow fresh air and light into the tunnels itself. It was completed here in 1930. You see it's 13'2" tall, and if you got certain RVs within a minimum length, that you can pay extra, and they'll block off the traffic where you can make a one-way trip through there. But I think you got to be under 25 feet in length. There's actually 2 tunnels you have to go through. This one's rather short. But after we got through the tunnel, we just kind of rounded a corner not too far around the road. And there's some big orange sheep walking in the road. And as I was taking pictures of these, my son and wife looked out the other window and down into this little valley. There was more of them coming up the side of that cliff to go up there and browse around, I guess. As we were leaving the Zion East entrance, I talked with this guy who was disconnecting his fifth wheel from his truck. The park rangers wouldn't let him enter because he was over the minimum allowed length, and he got turned back. So he was temporarily parking here so he could drive his truck back through there. After exiting the park, we finally got to Mount Carmel Junction, a little town, and they got a little gift shop there, and my wife found a couple new friends, although they didn't look like they appreciated her sitting between them. I don't know. But I looked across the street, and there's the Thunderbird restaurant, and wouldn't you know it, they got homemade pies. I don't know what it is about pies out in this area, but we had to stop for a snack. It was that time of day. And after lunch, of course, we tried out their Thunderbird pie a la mode, which I guess basically is a mixed berry pie. It was pretty good. And I think our son ate it like he never eaten one before. It looks like he appreciated it. He was trying to get every last bit. But the place was full of all these little decoration antiques of everything, and all kinds of signs for old beer brands that were made I don't know when. They had some catchy names to them. I was walking around, and actually they got a little putting green or golf course out back, and they had these little helicopter clocks sitting there. I thought they were pretty cute. After we left the restaurant, we continued on down the road, and I spotted a sign about the Coral Pink Sand Dunes State Park. So we swung in there to see what that looked like. It was kind of interesting. It was about maybe a 10-mile drive off the main road. I didn't know what this sign was when I first saw it, I guess I thought maybe it was a zoo or animal farm or something. But the Best Friends Animal Sanctuary in Kanab, Utah, is a home between homes for about 1,600 rescued dogs and cats, horses, birds, rabbits, and pigs and everything, farm animals, and the sort of wildlife on any given day. They also have a very large pet cemetery, which we just went to visit. This was something I had never seen before. It was kind of interesting. The place was really huge. I couldn't believe how big it was. Looks like my wife decided to sprout some wings. Next day we went up to the other end of Zion Park, and they call it Kulab Canyon. And this is a northern section of the park because you have to take a different exit in. And there was very little traffic, and it was quite a little scenic area. Come in a lot of lookouts. They warn you about any backcountry trip planning. Bring plenty of water. Grafton is a ghost town just south of Zion National Park. It is said to be the most photographed ghost town in the West, and it has been featured as location in several films, including the classic Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.